All right, episode 4. We're going to switch it up and do something different this time. We're going to do a Spanish version of Reference Roulette. Even though I've been in the US since 2004, I was born and raised in San Juan, Puerto Rico. So we're going to take 3 songs that are in Spanish, one from one of my favorite bands, Calle, one from a band that brings me back to my childhood, which is Jarabe De Palo. They're a band from Spain who, unfortunately, their singer just passed away this year. And a newer band that I just learned about in the last 3 years or so called Rawayana. They're from Venezuela. In the Rawayana track, they have a very reggae vibe to the song, even though they include a lot of Caribbean sounds and some jazzy brass parts to it, and a lot of rhythmic elements and synths and all sorts of elements to the track. But the beat per se, for the most part, is based on a reggae pattern. I'm gonna try to find a reggae pattern within my drum libraries to see if I can start the song out like that. For the Jarabe de Palo song, I'm going to use the chord progression from both the chorus and the verses from the Calle song. I'm interested to see how I could fit the like EDM type warbly, like wobble bass sounds, and some of the unique drum patterns, like the kick, da da da. It's not, even though the song's in 4/4, it chops in a different way. So there's like a and then stops and then. So I'm going to try to see if I can incorporate that as well. All right, so I did incorporate those elements that I was talking about. I'm going to show you a quick clip of the parts that I have so far for the verse part. It's going to start with a fairly traditional 1-drop reggae beat that I found, but the kick is very unconventional. It's a very deep sounding, boomy kick sound. I also incorporated a whole bunch of other rhythmic elements to it, some congas, this washed out, I don't even know what it is. It sounds like 2 seconds of cymbals crashing, but they're not like a drum hit, but just like falling or something. So the whole idea is to have this verse part build and build with more rhythmic elements and then cut off into the chorus. If you pay attention to the Rawayana track, the way that they get back into the verse from one of the parts is it goes dead silent, except for the singer sings a little part of the verse, and then they all cut in back into the verse. So I'm going to do that, but as a transition from the verse to the chorus. And then I'm going to try to incorporate the more EDM like parts into the chorus. So there's going to be a drastic change from very busy, very rhythmically dense parts in the verse, and then the chorus is going to be more intense. I also tried to incorporate some trumpets and some brass since they're a feature in the Rawayana track, but the only trumpet sounds that I have are from Spitfire, from their Labs plugin, and they're more classical symphony trumpets. I don't have anything that's cool and jazz vibey, like on what it would be with 4 actual brass players playing. So I did a piano pad and the trumpets doing the same part, and I EQ'd them so that they would sound sort of like one of the synth parts in the Calle song. So the bass line is a hybrid between the chord progression of the Jarabe de Palo song and the style of the Rawayana track. It's a lot more sparse and intercutting rather than just a constant playing of the bass line. dramatic pause, right? Yeah, that's going to be the lead in into the chorus, that space. Since I mentioned earlier, I wanted to do something more in the realm of EDM to follow sort of parts of the Calle 13 song. I took a 808 kick drum and followed the pattern of the Calle 13 song. I also found in an old Ableton sample pack a wobble bass sample called Wobbler. Originally, the sample sounds of something like this. And what I did was chop it up, pitch different parts of it to follow the chord progression of the chorus, and added a reverb and staccato delay with a plugin called Panagement 2. Panagement. Like pan management. Panagement 2. And here's what it sounds like right now. So the second verse is going to be very similar. It's just not going to have the one drop element to it. It's going to change up the kick pattern a little bit, but other than that, it's going to be pretty much the same as the first verse. The chorus is going to stay exactly the same as far as arrangement. And then for the bridge, if you listen to a lot of these songs, there's a lot of little elements of percussion. In the Jarabe De Palo, there's this weird like rototom that bends, and there's all sorts of little percussive elements in the Rawayana song and in the Calle 13 song, where they're sort of in the background and not really noticeable until you try to pay attention to them. And that inspired me. I have a whole bunch of percussion instruments lying around here that I hardly ever use. So for the bridge, I'm going to take all of those, as many as I can, and create some sort of polyrhythmic, going back to what we do in Puerto Rico called parrandas, where there's a whole bunch of like hand drums and a lot of different percussive elements that people sing to. So I think I'm going to try to include some sort of that element into the bridge. We'll see how that goes. One more thing I decided to add to both the verse and the chorus was I picked up my Strat and I followed the chord progression just normally on the verses, and on the chorus, since I had so much reverb and delay and also an auto wah in my guitar sound, I just muted all my strings and struck it with the pick, and it created this really fast transient and echoed out with the reverb and delay. As far as arrangement goes, I think I'm done. Now it's just a matter of trying to figure out what I want to do vocally. I definitely know that I want to include some sort of stereo vocal part, like the Calle 13 song where they go con los pies that follow the kick drum. I don't know that I want to do specifically something like that, since I don't want it to sound exactly like the song. But I know the only part that I know vocally that I want to do is some sort of echoey stereo background vocal thing. Other than that, I just have to sit with the song and try to figure out what I want to do vocal wise. I ended up working the lyrics and the melody for the song almost simultaneously. As we know, I try to incorporate as much as I can from the original lyrics for the 3 tracks. I pick and choose words and or phrases that jump out at me, sometimes with a theme, sometimes not. It's just a word that catches my eye, and I think I could try to figure out a way to incorporate it into the lyrics for the new song. While I was trying to work out the melody, the first thing that came to me had nothing to do with any of the words I had picked out yet. It was the hook for the chorus, which says, "Si tú quieres llevarme en tu mente, pues llévame," which means, if you want to take me in your thoughts, then go ahead and take me. meaning like this relationship's over and the only place you'll find me is in your thoughts, basically. And that spurred this like theme of like a guy that's done with this relationship, and he's fed up of the lies and like a whole drama of events that have happened within this relationship, and he's done and he's out. So that is where all the additional words came in. Since I knew I wanted to sing the chorus part, I decided valiantly to try to rap the verses. I am not a rapper by any means, but I attempted it as best I could. And given that, rapping by its nature is so dense, then that lent itself to being able to use as many of the words as I could. The following is all the words that I picked out from the original lyrics. If you notice, the ones that are bolded and underlined, those are the ones I ended up using. So it was mostly all of the words. And here is the original song for episode 4 called Llévame.